Welcome to my Full Life and Faith Leaps podcast with me, Tiffany Jo Baker, where we help you experience God's power and rest in your purpose and progress as you move forward step by step in all the things God has called and created you to do at home and around the world. Hi, y'all. This is Tiffany Jo Baker with my Full Life and Faith Leaps podcast. And today I want to touch on the topic of are soul ties keeping you stuck? You may not have heard of this term soul ties. In general, if you've been raised in a Christian community, you may have heard it in regards to premarital sex or sexual activity outside of the marriage bed causing an unhealthy soul tie. But the truth is that soul ties aren't always negative. They can also be positive. And when we are operating in God-ordained boundaries and purposes within any kind of relationship, it can be a healthy soul tie. So soul ties, if I were to give you an easy definition, are two souls who are joined and knitted together. So the Bible talks about it in marriage, two becoming one. It also gives reference to it within friendships between Jonathan and David in 1 Samuel 18. It talks about how they became one in spirit. So when our souls and our spirits are joined together, that is a soul tie. Healthy ways are in a healthy marriage. Unhealthy ways can happen even between spouses, parents and their children, friends. So what makes a soul tie unhealthy? Well, if you were to have this picture of let's say your heart being whole, and because of an unhealthy toxic relationship where there's overlap, maybe enmeshment or codependency, where someone else has a piece of you, or you have a piece of someone else, of their heart, and your heart is no longer whole because since they have a piece of your heart, maybe it's a controlling relationship, a manipulative relationship, a relationship that creates fear. Maybe you no longer have the confidence to make decisions on your own. Maybe you've lost your identity in the relationship. Maybe that relationship is you're always giving, giving, giving. Maybe you are even experiencing some health issues because of the stress and strain of an unhealthy soul tie. When we have a positive, nurturing relationship within the God-ordained boundaries of a healthy soul tie, that's where we can find our sense of belonging and safety. It's peaceful. There's individuality and mutual respect. So when the God-given ordained boundaries of a relationship are crossed, an unhealthy soul tie can result. And some of us, a lot of us, I would venture to say, might be experiencing that still, even from relationships from our past that we don't currently have, but they may still hold a part of us. Well, Jesus, what I love is the Bible is full of verses talking about how Jesus came to bind up and to heal our broken hearts and our wounds and make us whole. Just like Proverbs 147:3 says, he heals the brokenhearted. And sometimes that is because someone else has a piece of us, or we're holding control or a piece of someone else, whether that came from a sexual relationship or a friendship or just a codependent relationship. I've had God reveal to me, actually just within the last 6 months, I had a dream and he revealed two soul ties that I had yet to deal with from a boyfriend in high school, as well as an employer an employer relationship that just was toxic and unhealthy. But Jesus is so sweet to tell us when we have things operating in our life that make us less than whole because he wants us to live wholehearted, wholehearted living. Sometimes these soul ties can result because of attachment issues. If we go back, if we think about the counseling world and we go back to even to our childhood of the attachment styles with our parents, sometimes that will lead us, cause us to get into unhealthy relationships that can create soul ties because maybe we've learned to connect with people either codependently, which means we rely on them for everything and we lost our personal identity, um, or even disconnected and detached, where we don't show up at all or very little. I like this quote by Dr. Henry Cloud. It says, without relationship and without attachment to God and others, we can't be ourselves. So we need relationships. We need attachment in order for us to be our true selves, but they need to be healthy and in God's design of a mutually beneficial, mutually respectful relationship. So what do you do if you realize, oh my goodness, I think I might have a soul tie with my child or with an unhealthy soul tie with a friend or maybe an ex-boyfriend that you never cut that soul tie off yet to get that part of you back. The first thing to do is to just recognize, ask Jesus, and he will tell you, Jesus, are there any soul ties that I need to deal with? And he might give you one name, three names, or a page of names. The second thing you can do is just after recognizing is to repent and just ask Jesus to forgive you for knowingly or unknowingly operating in an unhealthy soul tie, giving part of you to somebody else or taking part of somebody else that didn't belong to you. And then renounce, which means you're going to formally cut off any unhealthy belief system that's resulted of it, any fear that's attached to it, any demonic influence that's attached to it, and anywhere that Satan has taken advantage of it, and to renounce it and break it and say, I cut off any unhealthy behaviors, lies, and if you know them, speak them out. Spirit of fear, I renounce you, I cut you off and command you to go. And then you ask for the Lord to receive his healing. You ask for any part of you that person has to be cleansed, purified, and returned to you, and any part that you have of them that needs to be cleansed, purified, and returned back to them. And then finally, you receive the whole heart that Jesus came to earth, paid the price for you to have. That's a simplified version, but that's the main points of how to deal with a soul tie that may have you stuck in your relationship, moving forward, in your business, in your life. And here's what I know about Satan, the enemy of our soul, is he wants our hearts to stay broken. He doesn't want us to be wholehearted, and he might try to knock again and bring it back or bring it back through a different person. He'll kind of like he'll throw spaghetti at you and see what sticks sometimes. So the last R is reject. When you sense that there's some unhealthy enmeshment or control or fear that's operating or soul tie, reject. Reject getting outside of the God-given boundaries in relationships that the Lord wants for us. Well, I hope that you have been enjoying this last year or so as I've been doing more episodes on inner healing, emotional healing, and deliverance. And soul ties is a big part of them. This is Tiffany Jo Baker, and my heart is to help you get free, live full, and thank God. And if you know anybody who could use this episode as well, please share it with them. And I look forward to having you join me next time here on my Full Life and Faith Leaps podcast. Be blessed.
Well, friends, thank you for joining us today on my Full Life and Faith Leaps podcast. If you enjoyed our time together and are taking away a nugget that has inspired your soul and success, would you share this episode with a loved one who could use it too? And if you haven't already, take a moment to rate and review this podcast and help me help others fuel and fulfill their faith journeys. Until next time, I'm Tiffany Jo Baker, a 3-time surrogate, speaker, and strategizer who loves to help you birth your God-given dreams at home and around the world. Now go do all the things God has called and created you to do with the grace and gifts God has given you.